Bowlers Tour makes its second stop here on the Fall Tour in Coram, New York, and the Brunswick, Long Island PBA Open. The Pro Bowlers Tour on ESPN kicked off its 1998 Fall Tour last week at the Virginia Beach Pavilion and the National Finance Championship. Walter Ray Williams Jr. was seated in that #1 position, looking to add his 27th PBA title. But it was smooth-stroking Brian Voss that won 3 matches, including a thrilling 265-257 title match victory over Williams. For Voss, it was career win number 20, moving him into a select group of players with 20 or more career titles. For Walter Ray, there's always next week, and next week is now. Inside Coram Country Lanes in Coram, New York, second of 8 nationally televised events here on ESPN. And tonight, a great show. Let's meet our 5 finalists for the Brunswick Long Island PBA Open. In the number 5 position, winner of 18 PBA championships, voted into the PBA Hall of Fame just a year ago, Amleto Monacelli. In that number 4 seated spot, still searching for that elusive first PBA title from Cincinnati, Brian Himmler. The winner of that opening match will then meet our 3rd seated player. He's making his 2nd straight TV appearance, a rookie on tour, Patrick Healey Jr. In the number 2 spot, another rookie out here, making his 2nd TV appearance of '98, looking for his first win, Robert Smith. And our top-seeded player for the 2nd straight week, he's won 26 PBA career titles. Voted PBA Player of the Year 4 times, Walter Ray Williams Jr. Hi, everyone. I'm Phil Ferguson. Certainly looking forward to the next 90 minutes or so here on ESPN. It's the Brunswick Long Island PBA Open. And boy, this town was rocking last night as the Yankees beat the Indians. And now we'll move on to the World Series. This place has been rocking all week long. The first time we've come here to Coram Country Lanes, and boy, it has been a real treat. Interesting top 5 today. 44 titles among the top 5. Really 2 in the number 5 spot. Amleto Monacelli, 18 titles. Walter Ray Williams Jr., 26. Other 3 players still looking for that first win. Let me bring in my broadcast partner, Marshall Holman. And Marshall, certainly an interesting top 5 today, but the story still has to be Walter Ray Williams Jr.
Phil, you're absolutely right. The top story once again this week is PBA Hall of Famer Walter Ray Williams Jr. And Walter is just 1 week removed from that devastating loss last week to Brian Voss when he lost 265-257 at the National Finance Championship. Now, Williams looks to avenge last week's 2nd place finish with a win here tonight. And yesterday in the last 16 games of match play, well, he dominated the field and took command of the lead in a performance that looks, well, routine for the great right-hander. However, anything less than victory will certainly be a disappointment this week for Walter Ray Williams Jr. Our other very, very big story is the other Hall of Famer in our field tonight, and that is Amleto Monacelli. Now, Amleto, he had an unscheduled week off last week due to a soccer injury where he hurt his right shin when he was kicked. But he's back, and he's got his game in very, very good shape. Last night coming very close to bowling an elusive 300 game, just leaving the 7th pin in the 10th frame, and that certainly helped him to secure his spot in tonight's telecast.
We are here in Coram Country Lanes, and Amleto Monacelli, he has won 18 PBA titles, 5'8", 175 pounds, 36 years old. And Monacelli will have the first shot here in this championship round, once again going up against Brian Himmler. Himmler looking for his very first PBA title. So Monacelli, 16 years out here on tour, the very first shot. Got it out and left at 2-8. Not quite able to get it back on that first shot.
And in talking with the bowlers earlier, Phil, lane 15 was actually the lane that was hooking a little more. And you'll see that a lot. On a lane that hooks more, they're afraid they're going to be going high. They give the ball a little more room. Didn't quite come up the pocket.
Monacelli has cashed in 11 events, made the top 24 10 times. He is the only international member of the PBA Hall of Fame.
Difficult double wood spare. Makes the conversion, and a good start for Amleto.
So that will bring up Brian Himmler.
5'9", 190 pounds, 25 years old. Still looking for his very first PBA title. He's been out here for 6 years. He can crank it up. Still not able to come back. Fortunate to kick out the 10-pin and only leave the 2.
And they're both power players. Himmler getting the ball extraordinarily wide, as Amleto did in the first frame. Ball came back. You'll see it come back, but it's in a real steep angle. Doesn't quite get there. There's the 2-pin. There's the 10-pin. And I believe Mr. Himmler just said thank you.
So Himmler will try to pick up just the single-pin spare. Able to do that. So we do have a couple of spares to start off the match between Monacelli and Brian Himmler. But you talk about the players nowadays, and they'll throw it out and let it come on back. Got to trust it.
Well, you've got to go with the game that you have, and especially for Brian Himmler, he is a power player, and he likes to hook the ball. Today, the lanes have a 50-foot base of oil, 50 feet down the lane. It's sort of in a little bit of a Christmas tree fashion, so a little more oil in the center than the outside. And then there's a 31-foot launch pad that's all flat oil, so it's a pretty demanding condition. We'll see if they can figure it out.
Oh, able to get him to mix up on the back end, so Himmler with a strike in the second.
We take a look at Brian Himmler. Watch the high backswing and all the revs that he imparts on the ball. It drives back, knocks the 5 into the 7. Beautiful shot for Brian.
Monacelli, you had mentioned, got hurt in a little soccer match last couple weeks ago.
Well, he showed me the bruise on his right shin. Says it's not bothering right now. The bruise isn't bothering him, but that ringing 10, that's another thing.
Nice shot by Monacelli, but leaves that 10-pin.
We take a look at the ball coming right into your living room. Swings it way out, coming back. Watch the 6-pin, goes right around the bottom of the 10. He'll throw the ball hard and straight. Hang on, Amleto, and he just barely makes it, Phil.
Always exciting. Never take those spares for granted. So Monacelli down by just 1 here in the first match of the Brunswick Long Island Open. First time we've come here to Coram Country Lanes, and boy, what a week.
Well, they've been very, very nice here. The entire staff has been very helpful. You know, they took this tournament on and really didn't have a lot of time to get it together, and they put in over 1,200 amateurs into the Pro-Am. Did a great job and very, very, very nice to the pros.
Monacelli able to get that one to set on the back end. So Monacelli answers with a strike, as Himmler now will come up in the 3rd frame.
Take a look at also the extraordinarily high backswing of Amleto. Really throws the ball out, gets it out to about the 7 board, comes back in solid 17th board, putting the pressure back on Brian Himmler, who right now leads by 1 pin with a strike here. He could take it to 11.
Another solid 10-pin. They call him the Chief. Likes to take charge of things.
Well, for a youngster, he certainly does. You know, Brian's only 25 years old, but he's been out here for a few years. I believe 5 years as a PBA member. Actually, 6 years as a PBA member.
Here you see Brian Himmler, 72nd to start off, then inched his way up, 24th, 22nd, and then steady in that number 4 position as he converts the 10-pin spare. He also beat Amleto Monacelli in match play, 233 to 214 this week.
I don't know what it is about that 10-pin on lane 16, but they both left ringing 10s, solid in the pocket with the 6 going around the 10-pin. And they both almost threw the ball on the channel, just barely getting the right-hand side of the 10-pin.
You know, high scores last week, Marsh. This week, I don't want to say more demanding, but a different type shot.
Well, certainly much more difficult to knock all 10 pins down. The carry was very tough, and especially early in the rounds.
Trying to get that one to come back, and not going to quite make it, so another 10-pin for Himmler.
And it's not going to come back with these pins. These are the Brunswick Pro pins. They're 3 pounds, 10 ounces. As you can see, the different color, that's just another way to let you know that these pins are different. They're heavier, they're tougher to knock over. If you come in high in the pocket, better chance of leaving splits. So a little more demanding. Himmler will throw the ball very hard and straight to pick up the 10-pin. And no problem.
So we've had a few spares to start the game, but certainly a very close contest here in the first match. It's Brian Himmler going up against Amleto Monacelli, and this match is all even. This match is all even between Brian Himmler and Amleto Monacelli, with the winner to take on another player looking for his very first PBA title, Patrick Healey Jr. He made the televised finals a week ago, so Monacelli now up in the fourth. He has a strike working.
And coming in high, leaving the 3 and the 6 pin. You know, a lot of times the players are sitting a little difficult after waiting for a couple of minutes, but Amleto shouldn't have any problem with the 3-6. Get the ball in between the two of them. Don't use a lot of hook.
Monacelli chops it off.
Well, Amleto did not quite get up to the 3 pin, and he really gave Brian Himmler quite a large opening. Himmler now leads by 12 pins after Monacelli misses the 3 and the 6. As you can very easily see, the ball is just right at the target. And Phil, that's a ball that is not going to hook back into the pins. He throws the harder ball, try and slide it across the lane, give himself more of an opportunity to make the spare, and ends up hurting him that time.
Monacelli finished second in the Showboat Invitational in Las Vegas earlier this year. There you see the score. And he's able to kick out that 10 pin. So Monacelli with a strike in the 5th. Monacelli also finished 3rd in the Brunswick Gianni Petraglia Open.
Take a look at the 6 pin, second to the right, as it nudges the 10 pin over. There it goes. A happy result from Monacelli, who is a very good bowler from the mental side of the lane, so I don't think he'll be bothered by it as Himmler is up on lane 16.
Himmler, beautiful strike in the 5th, so he has a 12-pin advantage over Monacelli midway through this opening match.
Well, you see the smile on Himmler's face as he's walking back. I know why he's smiling. He's smiling because he pulled that ball a good 3 or 4 boards left of his target. It held the pocket and struck, and he was a little bit surprised. Could be something that, you know, sometimes when you make a bad shot, you learn something about the lane. Himmler learned something on lane 16. He was able to go straighter. Be interesting to see when he comes back on that lane what he does.
Might free up his swing just a bit, knowing he has a little bit of room out there. Himmler in the 6th. Got it out. Here it comes, and a 10-pin. I think he thought he threw a pretty good shot.
Well, he made a very good shot, Phil, but unfortunately, we take a look at Brian Himmler throwing the ball from about the middle of the lane, well out to about the 7th board, leaves the ringing 10. Right now, he says, I like the way I threw it. That's got a great chance to strike. It will strike. It won't strike.
As he tries to pick up the 10-pin, able to do that. And for Himmler, he says superstitions different every week. When you bowled out here, do you have any superstitions? Few, huh?
Yeah, I did a few too. Too many to really be talking about right now. It's only an hour and a half broadcast.
So Amleto Monacelli now working on that strike. Can cut into that lead.
Take it down to 2 pins with a strike here on lane 16.
Again, didn't quite come back.
And there's the adjustment. He came in high in the previous time on lane 16, and this time comes in light, tries to just sort of wiggle him over. There's the head pin into the 2 pin, but nothing to get the 4 pin. He'll have to try and pick this up. Shouldn't have any problem with it. Although I know I said that when he left the 3-6, but I guarantee you he'll make this spare. Come on, Amleto, do it for me.
There you go. I knew he had it.
Okay, Amleto, do it for you.
Amleto likes this area. 94, he won the Long Island Open in Sayville, so we've been coming here for 8 straight years, the Pro Bowlers Tour, but first time here at Coram Country Bowl.
Amleto, a player that has liked most every center he's been to in the last 15 years or so, a great player. You mentioned earlier, and I mentioned, a member of the PBA's Hall of Fame, and they don't just give you that. You have to earn it. He certainly has.
Monacelli now up in the 7th, trailing by 12 here in the opening match. Here it comes. Right in front, not going to hit it. Little discouraged at this point with that look. Made a few moves out there in the lanes, and
he's trying to get himself back into this match, and he's still only down by 13 pins. Makes a good shot, leaves the 10 pin. Needs to just pick it up, forget about it.
Boy, Monacelli has bowled an awful lot on television. His career TV record, 61 and 63 with a 214 average. So he's bowled a few games out here on the lanes. So it's Amleto Monacelli going up against Brian Himmler. Close match here in game 1. Monacelli right now trails by 13 pins to Brian Himmler in match 1. So Amleto getting a drink of that PBA water in his spare time.
Brian Himmler up by 13 pins, now up in the 7th frame. Working on a spare, trying to get something going, put a little more pressure
Neither player has thrown a double yet in the opening match. Himmler getting it out. Here it comes. Still not quite back and leaves the 8-10.
Let's take a look at our Dexter footwork of the pros. It's Brian Himmler, and he puts the ball into motion very, very early. His feet have to move very quickly to catch up with the swing, and his body position open. Yeah, if body position open to the target really allows him to get a very powerful release. But on that shot, he was not able to get the ball back up to the pocket. Phil, that was the same lane where he pulled the ball last time and held pocket. That time he threw the ball further to the right. We have an even match due to the 8-10 split.
So the players having a little bit of difficulty getting that ball to come back on the back end consistently. Himmler now up in the 8 once again. Even match.
So often, light on one lane, high on the next. It's almost like a subconscious adjustment that the pros make. We'll take a look. The ball just set a little bit short. Didn't get far enough out to the right. It's already hooking past where it needs to be. And it's in the pocket, but it's a 4-6. And all he can do is just feel bad about it. Throw it hard and straight. See what you can do. It's going to be 9 pins. And sitting on the bench, Amleto Monacelli goes from being down by 14 pins to being up by 11, and he hasn't done anything.
So Monacelli now up in the 8th frame. This area still really rocking from last night's Yankees win over the Indians, and they will take on going to the World Series as Monacelli brings it up and got it. So Monacelli, just like a veteran, a player that has won 18 PBA titles, when you get a little bit of a crack, a little bit of a hole, he goes in.
Well, you have to. Take a look at Monacelli. Classic form we've seen so much, so many years. Solid in the pocket. 10-pin falls. Give it to me one time. You got it, Amleto. You know, Amleto did not really bowl well on this pair. On the TV pair, he only averaged 205. Brian Himmler just averaged 213, so it wasn't one of their favorite pairs for scoring during the week, and it certainly is showing up here in our first match.
So Monacelli now up in the 9th frame, working on a strike. Able to get that 10-pin to go down, but that could have been a 7-10 split. We got the 10 to go, and we got a close match.
Well, take a look. You'll see the 7-10. They're going to be standing, but watch the head pin. Comes off the sideboard. It's going to be Amleto's friend as it just gets over to nudge out the 10-pin, leaving the relatively simple 7-pin spare. With a conversion, Amleto will keep his 11-pin lead. The strike there, Phil, really could have made things very, very tough on Brian Himmler. Brian Himmler still has an opportunity. Brian Himmler can shoot 195 if he strikes out in the 9th and 10th. Amleto Monacelli, he can shoot 196, so Himmler cannot shut out Monacelli, but certainly needs to put some pressure on him right here.
Himmler up in the 9th, got it out, and got a strike. So once again he strikes out. It's 195, and Monacelli. And then we need a couple of strikes.
We'll take a look at the Dexter footwork of the pros. You see the way he puts his ball into motion very, very early, and his feet have to move very quickly to catch up with his swing. The body position is open to the position at the release, and what that allows him to do is cover a lot of boards.
Dexter footwork of the pros. So Himmler now up in the 10th frame. Has that strike working in the 9th.
Very important to strike here. Put the pressure on Monacelli. There he is. The best shot he's thrown the entire match in the 10th frame. Solid in the pocket. Every pin doing its job. Watch these. Just 10 in the pit.
That's unfair sometimes. Look at that. And he liked it. Just wanted that 10-pin out of there. Got it. So Himmler now certainly can put the pressure with the big strike here.
Also, a lot of solid pocket 8-pins this week. A lot of really, really good shots leaving the 8-pin, so very difficult to carry all 10 pins. This for the lead.
So the crowd coming alive. Brian Himmler will have 195 possible should he strike here.
One more look at Brian Himmler as he throws another great shot in the 10th frame. Second ball in the 10th. Perfectly thrown. Great result. Amleto knows he can't be shut out, but Brian Himmler can certainly make Amleto Monacelli's work very, very difficult. With a strike here, he could force Amleto to throw 3 shots in the 10th to win by 1.
Himmler won 7 of 8 match play games last night, averaging 227 to fall into the top 5. 4-pin.
A little bit of a crack for Amleto Monacelli as Brian Himmler shoots 194, striking in the 9th, 10th, and second ball in the 10th. Now Amleto Monacelli, very simple for him. Strikes in the 10th, second ball in the 10th, and 9 to give him 195. That would send him on into our next match.
Sure, Amleto's wife looking on, Teresa. And a solid 10-pin.
And he made a professional shot, but Brian Himmler knows he's going to be facing Patrick Healey in our next match. For Amleto Monacelli, all he can do is pick up the 10-pin. The best that he can shoot is 185.
Well, Monacelli didn't get a double that whole game, with Himmler getting 3 clutch strikes down the stretch.
Yeah, Himmler was able to get it done late in the game. Monacelli made the shot, but unfortunately, as we alluded to earlier, the carry here, very, very difficult, very, very elusive. And it's another 10-pin to finish out the game for Amleto Monacelli with a 184 to Brian Himmler's 194.
So Brian Himmler will move on now to take on our 3rd-seeded qualifier, and he is no stranger to the television cameras. He was there last week in Virginia Beach. Patrick Healey Jr., a rookie out here on tour. In fact, we have 2 rookies on the telecast, and then somebody by the name of Walter Ray Williams Jr. on top. But there you have it, the final score. Brian Himmler, a winner of match 1, 194 to 184. Next up will be Patrick Healey Jr. We're back at Coram Country Lanes in Coram, New York, the Brunswick Long Island Open. It will be Himmler taking on Patrick Healey Jr., a rookie, here in match 2. So it was a struggle in match 1, but Brian Himmler moves on.
Well, take a look at some of the other finishers. Tim Chris, he made a good run for the show. He started in 16th place, ended up in 6th. Didn't quite get there. Doug Camp, the owner of 2 titles, has a high finish of 2nd this year in Detroit. Tommy DeLuxe Jr. from nearby Flushing, New York in 8th, and David Ozio, the Hall of Famer, just coming close but missing out in 9th place. Pete Weber going to be inducted into the PBA Hall of Fame later on this year, finishing 10th, and Tom Baker from Buffalo, having a great year, finishes 11th.
A lot of great players. And we are ready for match 2 as Patrick Healey, rookie, but we talked about this last week, Marshall. He's really no rookie. He's 30 years old and he's bowled an awful lot as an amateur.
Well, he has so much international experience, Phil, that I haven't looked at him as a rookie at all this year, although he is to the PBA as he throws his first shot on lane 15.
Just like that, and last week he bowled awfully well.
He did. He had bowled a very, very solid game, but Brian Voss just a little bit too much for him last week. And Brian Himmler certainly trying to be too much for him today.
So Himmler now up in the first frame. Looked like he moved a little farther left and still left the 10-pin.
Yeah, a little bit of a soft 10. The 6-pin sort of lays in the channel. Doesn't quite get out. Take a look at the 6-pin. In the channel, tries to bounce out. Doesn't get there and leaves the 10-pin. That's the 4th 10-pin that he's left in the first game, and 1/10 he's bowled. Hang on.
Able to get it. Himmler bowled very well in match play. 16 wins, just 8 losses. So Himmler with a spare, and Patrick Healey starts off this second match with a strike.
And unfortunately for Brian Himmler, his wife Alicia wasn't able to be here this evening, but he wanted me to say that he loves her, and he also wanted me to say hi to the guys at Cherry Grove Lanes who will be watching and rooting even as we speak.
All right, strike in the second, so you have to say I love you.
I did.
So Brian comes through for the gang. Watching in that Wednesday night league. As Himmler with a strike in the second, Patrick Healey.
If we take a look at Patrick Healey, really very, very good player, very good tactician, good mind, knows how to get it done, but everybody today knows how to leave the 10-pin.
Well, it's been that stubborn 10-pin throughout the first match and a couple of frames here.
I believe that's 9 10-pins that have been left today, and there's the same shot that Himmler had on the right-hand lane, the half 10, with the 6-pin just lays in the channel. As you can see, the events for this year for Patrick Healey, he's bowled in 10, cashed in 5.
He comes through making that 10-pin. So with that even, both players 20 in the first. However, Himmler working on a strike and Healey a spare. When you talk about Patrick Healey, won the gold medal in doubles and trios in the 91 FIQ World Championships. Also won the 95 World Cup, placed third in the 97 and 98 United Arab Emirates Open. The list goes on and on for this 30-year-old. He started off 13th, but really hung around, the top 15 or so all week long, and then made his way up the ladder to the televised finals.
Well, I think the longer the tournament is, the better chance for Patrick Healey to get to the top 5, because he's such a strong bowler, not just from the physical standpoint, but the way he manages his game. And there's his lovely wife, Teresa. She watches and praying for hubby.
Some wives known to line up the players a little bit. Not Teresa. She kind of sits back and lets Patrick do the bowl.
He doesn't know too much about the game. That's another shot that's left off of his hand. Will the 9-pin go? It does.
Kind of looks like David Wells winning the game there for the Yankees. But I'll tell you what, Wells a competitor, and this Himmler, quite a player as he gets that 9-pin to fall forward.
And we'll take a look. This ball never gets as far to the right as that one where he left the 8-10 the last game. He's found something. He needs to stay there. Just barely gets the 9-pin to fall out. It's really a very, very fortunate shot. And the pins are heavier, but his ball drives past the 9-pin. And I'm not really sure what it was that knocked the 9-pin over, but Brian very happy that it did.
Brings this one back, able to get it to set in the pocket. So Brian Himmler now taking charge in this second match.
It certainly seems as if Brian Himmler likes that left-hand lane a lot better. Right now, Brian Himmler up by 20 pins over Patrick Healey. We'll be back for the rest of the match right after this word.
Brian Himmler up by 20 here in match 2 over Patrick Healey, and Healey has bowled very well. Just the spare in the second frame, wrapped around a couple of strikes.
Left the soft 10 here on lane 16. Now, will he try and slow the speed down a little bit, get the ball a little deeper in the pocket? We'll take a look. Actually comes in light, and very unfortunate to leave the 7-pin. In today's game, with these reactive resin balls, they're so strong, and the backends are hooking pretty good. That's a shot that usually will strike. So anytime you come in light like that, you're really expecting it to strike.
Averaging about a little over 208 here on the television pair.
Another one of our players that really didn't light him up on this pair.
Healey trying to pick up the 7-pin. He is smooth. Nice style.
Yeah, good-looking young rookie. Needs to really get it going, and it certainly seems like the left-hand lane, lane 15, has been the more accommodating of the two. We're seeing quite a few strikes on lane 15 and lots of 10-pins. We're seeing all the 10-pins left on that darn lane 16.
Healey with a 279, his big game of the week. He's made one PBA telecast as an amateur before last week. He placed third in the 95 Brunswick World Tournament of Champions. Of course, last week he finished third in the National Finance Championship in Virginia Beach. Beautiful shot. So Patrick Healey likes that lane. He has struck each time on that lane.
Well, Teresa certainly approves, and I think if she had her way, she'd go down and kick that darn 7-pin down that he left in the previous frames. We take a look at Patrick Healey. Watch the high flush shot. Just a beautiful release from Patrick. Just needs to figure out this lane that Brian Himmler is on. And, well, Brian's got it figured out. But, my gosh, another solid 10-pin. There have been solid 10s left on 16, and there have been the half 10. So it's almost getting to be impossible for these guys to knock down all 10 on the right-hand lane.
Himmler up by 19 as he steps on the approach. Tries to pick up the 10-pin. It's been interesting at times trying to pick up the 10-pin, but he's got that one well covered.
Well, he's made it on the far right side. Now he tried making it on the left side. All you have to do when you shoot spares, you watch these pros go hard and straight, a lot of times changing balls. You don't have to get a lot of it, just enough.
These players practice a lot of time on spares. A lot of amateurs, when they're bowling a tournament, they just want to throw that strike ball. Well,
I think they practice quite a bit on shooting 10-pins because they do switch balls a lot, so they want to make sure they have a good feel with both balls.
So Himmler now up in the 6th, sending it out. Here it comes, and able to kick out that 10-pin.
And interestingly enough, Patrick Healey has chosen to finish on the right-hand lane. That's the lane that he's been up on twice and has yet to get a strike on, allowing Himmler to finish on what I consider to be the easier of the two lanes, lane 15.
They're chanting for Healey.
Trying to energize him a little bit. That looks good. And good it was.
That cuts it down to 9. So a 9-pin lead for Brian Himmler. First match very close, 194 to 184. Himmler a winner to move on.
Shoulder high backswing, follow through straight toward the target. And the ball right where he wanted to see it.
So Healey, 3-time U.S. National Amateur Champ. There you have it, 91, 92, and again in 95. Second straight week he's made the televised finals.
With the opportunity to take the first lead of the match. Will it get there, though? That ball did not get off his hand the way he wanted it. Didn't get the fingers in the ball. The lift wasn't there. If we take a look at the pins, the 2, 4, 5 will be standing. Fortunately for Healey, gets a little bit of a bump on the 4-pin. It knocks into the 2 and just leaves an easy 5-pin, leaving him down by 10 pins.
So Healey try to make the single pin spare. Got it.
And you notice when he shot that 5-pin, he was actually shooting his strike shot.
There you have the scoreboard. Boy, it is a 10-pin game right now. And here's a word from the Professional Bowlers Association. Welcome back to the Brunswick Long Island Open. A 10-pin advantage for Brian Himmler here in the second match. So Himmler working on a strike up in the 7th frame.
A great opportunity to put even more pressure on Patrick Healey. Take this up to a 20-pin lead up on the difficult lane 16. Will the 10-pin fall? You bet.
No doubt about that one. So now it is a 20-pin lead for Brian Himmler. He's won 5 regional titles. He was voted the Headquarters Region Player of the Year back in 1996 when he won 3 regional championships that year. Certainly a great player. Still looking for that first win, however, on the PBA Tour.
Well, he's got the talent to do it. Excuse me, Phil.
No.
He needs to just keep making good shots, try and put even more pressure on his opposition.
Himmler comes through there. You think of players like a Pete McCordick who went 9 or 10 years without a win, a great player. You think of those great players. It takes a long time. You hope that this kid certainly wins the title very soon because he's well deserving of it.
Well, I think he will. But take a look at his style from behind. Really opens up those shoulders. That enables him to launch the ball out toward the right-hand part of the lane and then hook it back into the pins. Patrick Healey, he's working on a spare and desperately needs to get something going as he leaves the week 10 once again on lane 16. And time right now is running out for Patrick Healey as he's down by 31 pins, looking to make a spare in the 8th frame.
Well, this kid has learned a lot over the last couple of weeks. Again, last week bowled a very solid game. This week, again, bowling very well. Just not able to get those 10 points to fall.
Well, he's going to be someone that you're going to see very often. And
Teresa will see him very often.
Yeah, Teresa is... she's at a loss. You know, it's tough for the wives. All they can do is just hope that that their guy can go out there and get it done. And right now for Patrick, it's not looking very good. Still, though, with the possibility of 228 if he were to strike out in the 9th and 10th, that would put a lot of pressure on Brian Himmler. Needs to start now. I think he's saying, finally, I tripped something. I got a break. And his wife, Teresa, saying...
Just knock him down.
Yes, a break.
So, again, a possible 228. And
well, all Himmler needs right now, Phil, are 2 marks in the 9th and 10th. And what a shot. He just diced those pins apart, leaving the 7-pin. The 5-pin just shot across. Something ran interference. Didn't quite get into the 7-pin. Still in good shape. Needs to make sure he picks this up. Any kind of a spare or strike in the 10th frame, Brian Himmler will be a winner.
First things first, try and pick up the 7, throws a straight card.
You see a lot of young guys come out on tour and they hook the ball at those single pin spares, but it doesn't take long on this tour to learn that you really have a much better chance if you can develop a straight shot to both the corner pin sides, the 7 and the 10 pin.
So once again, Himmler just needs a mark here.
And right now, it's all mental right now for Brian Himmler. This is the lane he has been striking on more often than not. No excuses, should be able to make a good shot in the 10th frame, and, you know, sometimes the ball gets a little bit heavy.
Leaving the 3-6, and we saw Amleto Monacelli slide by and miss this in match 1.
Yes, we did. Now, this is a spare that right now Brian Himmler's very happy to have, because if that ball would have been just a little bit right of where it finished, it could have easily been a wide open split and really, really left things open.
Oh, yeah.
Good conversion.
Covers it.
Himmler now just needs 3 pins.
And he will move on to take on another rookie. So looks like he's going to get by one rookie, and he's going to go up against Robert Smith. Should he just stay behind the foul line and get a couple of pins here? Great.
Just needs to take care of business. He does. That's what he was looking for the first shot in the 10th frame.
So Brian Himmler is your winner. He has a 2:36 in match 2. The best Patrick Healey is 2:28. So Brian Himmler will move on into that semifinal match, and he is bowling very well. Survived that opening match against Amleto Monacelli, and now we'll move on to face Robert Smith and Patrick Healey with a strike first ball in the 10th.
And Patrick Healey, somebody who you're going to be seeing quite often on Pro Bowlers Tour. He's certainly figured out what he needs to do in order to get himself into the top 5. Now the next step, how to win a match against these professional bowlers.
He's bowled awfully well here on the fall tour.
Gee, another 10 pin. What a surprise.
So he's going to finish, should he make this, with 2:17. Another admirable performance by the rookie, the 30-year-old rookie.
Well, he made a lot of good shots, but was not able to get the carry. Brian Himmler, 2:36. Patrick Healey, 2:17. And for Patrick, I believe he's going to say to himself, let's just get it done next week.
So we are at Coram Country Lanes in Coram, New York. Brian Himmler has moved on through 2 matches. He will next take on Robert Smith. Back with that in a minute. And the final in match 2, 2:36 to 2:17. Brian Himmler a winner over Patrick Healey Jr. And he will move on now to face another rookie, Robert Smith. The player on top is Walter Ray Williams Jr. Well, you want to improve your game? All right, here's my partner, Marshall Holman, with another Score More with Brunswick tip.
With the reactive resin balls of today, we need to look at the lanes in a little bit of a different way. No longer can we make the subtle adjustments of the late 80s and early 90s. Today's balls are much more aggressive, and that facilitates the need to move more dramatically, both on the approach and the lane. It's very important to notice the early warning signs that the lanes may be changing. For instance, if you throw your ball and you leave a 4-pin or a 6-pin for the lefties, that's the key to tell you the lanes are starting to dry up. Don't wait to make your adjustment. Move yourself inside to get into the oil in order to hold the ball into the pocket. Now, another way the lanes are changing, the way we look at them, is looking at the break point. And how do we use this information? Well, it's important to notice where the break point is. One way of noticing the break point is to actually get down low on the approach and take a look at the tracking marks that are left by the previous bowler. If you do this, this information is vital in telling you where you want to get your ball down towards the end of the lane. As you can see, the tracking marks are on both the left-hand side and the right-hand side. You use this information in order to factor yourself in as to what you want to do and how you want to do it. Next, we get the ball. We know where we want to throw it. See, this ball is going over around the 3rd arrow, going out to about 9 board, and then at about 45 to 50 feet, it starts making the break back into the pocket. So to summarize, here are your resin solutions. Watch the rolling pattern of other bowlers that bowl similar to you. Get low and see the tracking marks on the lanes. That can help you also. And don't be tentative when you make your adjustments. That's really the most important thing. You do that, and those will be your resin solutions.
All right, thanks a lot, Marshall. Learned something there. Our semifinal match will be coming up. It's going to be Brian Himmler going up against Robert Smith here in the Brunswick Long Island Open.
Now back here in Coram, New York, I'm Marshall Holman, and here with my guest, Walter Ray Williams. Walter, last week we talked about it. Very important for you to get this win. You've been bowling great. You've forgotten about last week. How do you feel tonight?
Well, I haven't totally forgotten about last week. I bowled a great match. Unfortunately for me, so did Brian. Got the best of me, but I'm back again this week. I had a slow start, but yesterday I turned it on, and I'm going to keep going today.
All right, now the guys are struggling out there a little bit. The scores aren't as high as last week. Are you going to opt for playing that inside line like we've been watching in the last couple of matches, or will you play a little further out in the lane?
Well, I did throw a couple test shots outside, and it works early, but as soon as the oil carries down and lanes change, it doesn't work as well. I might be playing inside, but you never know. I might sneak a couple outside shots.
All right, Walter, thank you very much. Good luck to you. Now back to you, Phil.
Thanks a lot, Marshall. We're set for the semifinal match between Brian Himmler and Robert Smith. Himmler now 2 games, averaging .215. He has left 5 10-pins and 12 strikes for the kid from Cincinnati as he defeated Healey 236 to 217 in that last match. Himmler gets that 10-pin wiggle, wobble, but it won't fall down. So Brian Himmler averaging .219 on the tour this year. Pick up another ball and go straight at the 10-pin.
Well, I go away for a couple of minutes and they leave another 10-pin.
There's a nice look at that Brunswick gold pin that we use out here on tour. And picks it up. So now we're going to get a look at Robert Smith, 6 feet, 220 pounds, just 24 years old. And he can twist it up a little bit, Marshall.
This young man is mega strong, and you're going to get a treat watching him throw the ball tonight. If you think Himmler throws with a lot of power, take a look at this.
Didn't quite come up, leaving the 2-8. He stands way back. Gets that out.
Similar to what Himmler does, gets himself left on the lane, on the approach, make sure that he has his shoulders open at the line, and that enables him to throw the ball out to the right and hook it back. Now, this right-hand lane has not been coming back quite as strong as the left-hand lane. It also hasn't been carrying as good, and right now with the 2-pin and the 8-pin, very important to get the ball hooked back into that spare. He makes it without any problem.
So Smith, he has won 3 regional titles. He was a member of Team USA in 1994 and 95, so he is certainly bowled under intense competition.
He has. You see him by position, started out a little slow and then made a big charge. Ends up qualifying second.
Was first for a short time, so Robert Smith up in the second frame. He too looking for his first PBA win.
And had the high average on this pair, 242. Used a lot of those strikes to get there.
That was powerful.
Take a look at Robert Smith and watch how high the backswing and really unloads in the bottom of the swing. A lot of strength.
Himmler will try to answer. He does just that. So we are even. Both players with spares in the first and a strike in the second. Himmler appears to be gaining confidence. That first match certainly left a lot of corner pins and got by him, little Monacelli. Then he comes through with a big win over Patrick Healey Jr. That'll do it for you. Get a couple games under your belt.
Oh, it helps. It helps a lot. He's already into this game, and although he leaves the 3, the 6, the 9, and the 10, a very difficult spare. We'll take a look at the balls. It cuts right through the heart, leaving the 3, the 6, the 9, and the 10, and this is a spare that's very difficult, and he will not throw hard and straight at this. I do not believe. You need to have a little bit of power on the ball to make sure you can hook it back to get the sleeper 9-pin. A very difficult spare for Brian.
just like you drew it up, able to convert the difficult spare. Got a couple of kids out there. Himmler 25 and Robert Smith 24 in the semifinal match.
And he makes a very good shot. You'll see he swings the ball from inside around the 5th arrow. It goes out to about the 6th board, hooks back, makes a perfect shot. And believe me, he is relieved. That's the word that would describe how he feels right now.
Robert Smith, boy, he was blistered this TV pair. 242 average.
Yeah, can he make the right adjustment on 16 to get the ball into the pocket? Boy, he makes a nice shot, but leaves another 10-pin. First one for Robert Smith. As we take a look at another Dexter footwork of the pros, he starts the ball low in his stance. 4 slow, short, deliberate steps, building towards a strong leverage position. Very, very strong, and the power certainly shows in the ball he throws. And that's another Dexter footwork of the pros.
So Robert Smith picks up the spare in the 3rd frame. This event marks Brunswick's 5th sponsorship of a PBA event this year. Boy, next year, Brunswick Long Island Open going to move the PBA Tours to the spring schedule next year, and PBA Tour right now finalizing plans to create the first outdoor championship round in New York City at Bryant Park, and I think that is fabulous. Outdoor bowling.
It's going to be a lot of fun. There is going to be some kind of a tinted roof for us because just in case it rains, that's not good for the lanes. As you can see, lane 15, the one that hooks back easier. Certainly Robert Smith makes a great shot on it. Now he needs to try and figure out how to get that darn lane 16. And
this match is all even as Himmler steps up on the approach in the 4th frame.
And Himmler's going to have to finish on lane 16. Robert Smith gave him that job as he strikes. And he struck both times on what I consider to be the tough lane. Now he's having trouble on the easier lane. We take a look at the pins. Really, really just a strong release, and the ball goes through them very, very well. Solid reaction by a solid shot.
Crowd, again, able to chant, able to cheer as the player gets up.
For a 10-pin lead.
Oh, yeah, now the 10 pin's coming out. So Himmler with a double, and Robert Smith finds himself 10 in arrears here in this semifinal match. The winner gets to take on the tour's top player in Walter Ray Williams, Jr.
That ball started inside the 4th arrow, went across the 22 board at the arrows, and then made a hard charge back into the pocket for the strike. And even though Himmler hasn't been on tour for many years himself, certainly the veteran player between the two. Will it fall?
No, that 10
all week.
Smith now in disbelief.
All week.
Because when you throw that much ball, you hit the pocket. They should all go down.
Well, you expect it to, and watch the head pin go to the sideboard and then just fly across. Unfortunately, it goes in front of the 10 pin, and it'll be another 10-pin spare for Robert Smith.
This is his 2nd TV appearance in '98. Finished 4th in the AC Delco Classic as he picks up the 10-pin, but he has gone spare strike, spare. You said he's going to have to figure out that lane if he's going to win the match.
Yeah, he's just he's made 2 good shots in the 3rd and the 5th frame, but unable to get 10 pins to fall down. And I'm not exactly sure what kind of an adjustment he'll make. You know, he's a power player, so sometimes, you know, you just want to go with your strength and just try and overpower the lanes and try and overpower the pins. We'll have to wait and see.
A couple of 300 games this week. Joe Furpo and Jeff Safino. Smith up in the 6th frame.
Really launched that ball way, way right. There's the messenger. Just went out. Where were you last frame?
First one all week, you said? No,
First one all week.
I find that hard to believe with that ball.
About time.
So Smith comes through with a strike in the 6th frame, and he right now trails Brian Himmler here in the semifinal match of the Brunswick Long Island PBA Open.
Well, if he says so.
But he is back in the match as Brian Himmler now up in the 6th frame, working on a double.
With a 10-pin lead to take it to 20. Going straighter on that lane and comes in just a little high, leaves the 4-pin. A little disappointed, but hang in there, Brian. You've still got a 9-pin lead, and you're bowling against a rookie, so
You know, talk about
not a bad position.
Demanding lane conditions, and certainly the shot makers come out like we have 5 tonight, and the guy on top can make all the shots, and Walter Ray Williams Jr. So you got to pick up your spares and not make a real bad mistake.
Yeah, just keep, you know, especially when you've got the lead, you know, keep the ball in the pocket, give yourself the opportunity to strike. You know, that was not a bad shot that Brian threw. It just came in just a little bit high. Very few 4-pins tripped, and not a lot of half-tens kicked out in this very, very demanding condition as far as the carry is concerned. Getting to the pocket, that's not really the tough part. The tough part is trying to figure out what kind of ball, what kind of release to knock them all down.
I think he found it, at least on that shot. Brian Himmler, big strike in the 7th. With the power players, Marshall, certainly they can punch a few big holes at times.
Well, they can, but this will be nothing but a perfect shot. Watch as it drifts out around the 10th board, then starts hooking back. Holds pocket, and it's 10 in the pit for Brian Himmler as Robert Smith trying for his first double of the match to give him a 1-pin lead. Yeah! Take a look at that power, Phil.
Oh, that is sweet. Oh, beautiful shot by Robert Smith, the rookie.
We'll take a look and see what Robert Smith's ball can do to those pins. Shake, rattle, and gone.
Those pins, what are they, 2 pounds almost? They just get them flying around there, those Brunswick gold pins.
Great reaction from Robert Smith bowling against the 3-pound, 10-ounce Brunswick Pro pins.
A little bit heavier than the regular pins. So Robert Smith now up in the 8th.
Yeah! Another strike for Robert Smith as something fell off of Robert. I don't know, a little piece of tape or...
I don't need that in my glove anymore.
We take a look at Robert Smith. This is coming right into your living room. He's way, way inside on the lane, throws the ball far out to the right, hooks it back in, and just barely holds the pocket. That ball was coming in just a little bit too high, but it hung in there, and now he's got an 11-pin lead. Brian Himmler to try and make it a 1-pin lead.
10-pin. So that's his second 10-pin of this match, and we've seen a few of those throughout the 2+ games. So Brian Himmler's got to pick this up, and then he's got the 9th and 10th.
Well, we've seen 3 handfuls of 10 pins, 15 so far on our telecast tonight, and that's so disheartening for a pro to get up there and make the good shot and be left with that ring and 10 staring at you. He knows he made a good shot, but right now, put that behind you, Brian, and try and get this strike to set up your 10th frame by striking in the 9th.
So Himmler trails by 11. He's cashed in 15 of the 20 tournaments he's bowled in this year. Very consistent player out here. In the 9th frame. Here it comes.
Oh, another solid 10 for Himmler. Boy, I know what he's thinking. He's thinking, what have I got to do? Because he's making the shots that he wants. You know, when you leave the half pocket 10, you know, you can rationalize, okay, that ball didn't quite get up to pocket. I can see where I should have left it. But the solid 10s are the ones that really drive the players kind of wacko sometimes.
Picks up the 10-pin, and I would think it's tough to make an adjustment when you're always in the pocket.
Well, it is tough to make the adjustment when you're leaving solid 10s, but I'll tell you, in today's game, with reactive resin bowling balls, you have to. You've got to, you know, you can move yourself up a little bit on the approach, or move yourself back a little bit more on the approach to give the ball a chance to hook a little higher in the pocket, slow your speed down. A lot of small adjustments that can be made, as Robert Smith really has things going his way right now with a strike here, 22-pin lead.
Robert Smith,
see any,
in a row.
See any determination on that face? Let's take a look. Robert Smith coming at you with that great delivery and real strong roll. Gets back into the pocket. Just needs a mark to win this match.
And take on Walter Ray Williams Jr. as Smith now up on the approach. Possible 250 for Smith. These guys don't bowl like rookies.
No, not at all.
Oh, and that's it.
There's your winner right there, Robert Smith.
With a powerful shot, and now he has 5 in a row. and shuts out Brian Himmler. And it's going to be Robert Smith going up against Walter Ray Williams Jr. And I find this statistic fascinating. Before tonight's telecast, games bowled on TV, Walter Ray and Amleto combined 302 games. Himmler, Healey, and Smith 15.
A little experience to Mr. Williams.
So Walter Ray, 178 games by himself on television, and we'll see Walter Ray coming up here in just a few moments. But Robert Smith is going to move on now and try to win his very first PBA title here in the Brunswick Long Island Open. It's going to be Robert Smith against Walter Ray Williams Jr. Welcome back. We are just about set now for the championship match, but in the semifinal game, boy, it was Robert Smith, a big win over Brian Himmler, 239 to 203. So Robert Smith now moves on to face Walter Ray Williams Jr.
Take a look at some more finalists. Danny Wiseman finished 4th last week, so he's off to a good start this fall. And Rick Steelsmith, he received the Nagy Award back in '97 as the good sport. Now there's our statistician, but Soper, you know, he's had 3 second-place finishes this year. He wants to get a first, and Steve Jaros in 15th place. Jeff Lissy had a nice finish, didn't quite get it done toward the end of the tournament, and Brian Zizek finishing 17th. Ricky Ward won his 3rd title earlier this year in Albuquerque, and Jason Couch, the 1992 Rookie of the Year, had trouble yesterday afternoon. Jeff Safino, he rolled one of the 300s this week, and Darren Wong finishing 21st, 5-year touring pro, looking for his first title. Michael Haugen Jr., we saw him earlier this year in Austin, finishing 5th. And Dennis Horan, owner of 3 titles, one of them a major in Akron earlier this year, the TPC. And in 24th place, Lee Vanderhoff, another promising rookie who's really a strong-looking player, throws the ball a lot like Robert Smith.
There you have Butch Soper and 3 second-place finishes. And you know what? C.K. Moore, last rookie to win a title, did it in Austin. Guess who he beat? Butch Soper. That's right, 214 to 180. All right, there you are, Butch. ESPN's Wednesday night coverage of the Pro Bowlers Tour continues next week as we move upstate for the Rochester Open. In 2 weeks, the tour will stop in Bay City, Michigan, where Amleto Monacelli will defend his title at the Bay City Classic. And on November 4th, we will be in Indianapolis for the National Finance Challenge. It's the Pro Bowlers Tour, Wednesdays, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on ESPN. Glad to have you by, Marshall Holman, along with yours truly, Phil Ferguson, and Butch Soper in the booth, our statistician.
Well, I don't know if Walter's wondering what Robert Smith will shoot against him, but I certainly am, because they've really been bowling big games against Walter Ray Williams Jr. He's been bowling great, but unable to get it done as far as getting that win of late. Robert Smith, first frame.
Kid looks cool and nudges that 10-pin, but won't go over. So Robert Smith, first shot here in the title match, but I still got to bring up, because I'm amazed that these rookies coming out here look so cool, but they've had a lot of preparation. He bowled on Team USA, Patrick Healey, a great amateur. So Smith trying to pick up the 10-pin.
I got it, Kenny.
Having some fun with the crowd. As Walter Ray Williams Jr., who led last week and lost really a heartbreaking loss to Brian Voss, 6'2", 39 years old, 18 years out here on tour from Orlando.
And the same start that Robert Smith had, a half pocket 10 on lane 15 for Robert Smith, half pocket 10 on lane 16 for Walter Ray. And you think we'll have 20 10-pins left tonight? Well, we've had 19 so far.
I think it's a good bet. Yeah, I bet we'll have 20. It's cashed in 14 out of the 20 tournaments, and 14 times, 13 out of those 14 were the top 24 as he picks up the 10-pin. First player to surpass the $2 million mark in career earnings. She's now over $2,200,000.
He just keeps putting more distance on me every week.
You keep dropping. What are you, 4th now on the list?
Somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Walter Ray averaged 237 on this pair, so the 2 high average players are bowling each other for the title. Walter Ray, he's playing a little bit of the inside line, a little further to the right than what Robert Smith is playing, but still toward the inside of the lane as we take a look at Walter Ray Williams, the beautiful shot that just gets high flush in the pocket, and you almost feel like with the carry as difficult as it is here at this bowling center, that you need to hit high flush to get them all down.
Smith up in the second frame. Comes back and a 9. Yeah, that is a solid
That's okay.
9.
Fortunate just to leave the 9. That ball was well left of his target. He knows it. The ball was fortunate that it held the pocket and didn't go any higher. And with as much strength as he has, 9 pins aren't that uncommon.
Finished 4th once again in the AC Delco Classic earlier this year as he goes at the 9. So Smith starts off this title match with a couple of spares, leaving a 10 pin and then a 9 pin. Walter Ray with a spare. He left a 10 pin in that first frame, comes back with a strike.
And both of our players wearing the wireless microphone, so we'll listen in to see if they have anything to say about their shots.
This kid's got a great future, only 24 years old.
And the 4-9, and I was here yesterday. I watched all 16 games, Phil, and there were a lot of 4-9s left. We'll take a look from behind at Robert Smith. Looks like a good shot right here, but look, it hooks just a little bit high. Looks like it's probably just going to be the 4 pin. Ends up being the 4 and the 9. He's kind of worried right now, but he doesn't think it's going to be that bad.
Only way to get it, really, nick that 4 pin on the left side, right?
Got to cut the 4 pin over into the 9. He's going to throw a bullet at it.
So an open for Robert Smith in the 3rd frame. He is down by 14 pins to Walter Ray Williams, looking for his 27th PBA championship.
Walter hasn't had too many breaks on television lately, but that's certainly a great break for Walter as he attempts to take that 14-pin lead up to 24.
All right.
I told you he was mic'd.
Scared me.
Me too.
So Walter Ray coming up with a big double.
And Walter Ray showing the power of his ball as well. Take a look at this reaction.
Oh, yeah. And for Walter Ray, he says he wants to have more first-place finishes than seconds. He's finished second a number of times. 30 times he has finished second. 26 championships. Another 9.
All righty. Man.
He certainly liked it off his hand, but that ball just got in just a little bit high. Blowing a little moisture into the thumb hole, and helps to make it just a little tackier, get a good feel of the ball. Walter certainly doesn't take anything for granted.
And he's able to pick it up. Oh, yeah.
That kind of ragged him a little bit.
You know, when you talk about all the second-place finishes, though, it's not that he lost from the top seed all those times. I mean, he may have come up from 5th or 4th. So, you know, he does have 26 firsts and 30 seconds. And another great player by the name of Earl Anthony had more second-place finishes than first two.
Yes, he did.
Smith jumps on it with a strike in the 4th. So it's Walter Ray Williams Jr. battling the young player. 24-year-old Robert Smith here in the title match of the Brunswick Long Island Open.
Robert Smith making a little bit of a move further left on the lane. You can see his ball starting around the 24th board, going out. The ball still didn't touch that 9 pin, but fortunately for Robert, something did.
Smith needs a strike here, big double to get right back in it. He trails by 23 right now. He cut it to 13 with a strike. Cut through
Rob,
the heart.
what are you doing?
Well, he'll have to make a big adjustment on the left lane.
Make the move, ball goes.
You can hear him say, I've got to move more. And take a look at the pins. He went right through the heart again. Leaving the 3 and the 6, needs to make sure that he picks up this spare. Doesn't want to give Walter Ray a cheap one, although maybe Walter Ray deserves it, but Robert Smith doesn't want to be the one handing anything over to Walter Ray Williams Jr.
Well, Smith was able to get one monkey off his back. He had not won a match on television before last game. He was 0-2 with a 209 average as Walter Ray sets up to bowl here in the 5th.
Well, he threw the ball, asked for it to hook, saw that it was going to hook, then asked for it to carry.
You know, when I bowl, I tell my ball to hook. It doesn't sometimes do it. It's nice when you can have a ball that answers you. Walter Ray, boy, he's got a strike in the 5th. He now leads by 23. Midway through the championship match.
There's a lot of frustration in all those second-place finishes. Walter Ray wants to take care of it, and right now, he's 33 pins up. He looks to win title number 27 here in Coram.
Robert Smith trails by 33 to Walter Ray Williams Jr. here in the title match. So Robert Smith really has to get it going, doesn't he?
Well, right now is the time for Robert Smith. Trails by 33 pins. He's only bowling the best bowler on our tour today. No pressure. That's got to hang on. And it does. A great shot for Robert Smith. With a strike here, he can cut it down to 23 pins. But more importantly, Phil, a strike here will let Walter Ray know that, hey, I'm still around. I'm not going to make it easy on you.
Still got to finish out the match. And when you think of Walter Ray, you think the best player. Saying hi to his wife, Paige. He's the best bowler on the planet. No doubt. He is unbelievable. 66 straight weeks. He's been ranked #1 by the PBA computer rankings. Smith, a little more loft. Oh, a solid 7.
Boy, that is just a terrible break. Just high flush in the pocket and the 7-pin stands. And for Robert Smith, I think he knows right now that his chances of title #1 and getting that berth into the Brunswick World Tournament of Champions probably are not going to be happening today. But Walter Ray still needs to get through the game. It's not over yet.
So Robert Smith picks up the 7-pin.
And they're the co-proprietors here at Coram Country Lanes, John Laspina and his brother Peter Laspina. Very, very cordial all week long. We certainly thank them for all the hard work they've done to make this tournament so great. As Walter Ray Williams is up in the 7th frame, looking to take big-time command. And
9, a little better than that.
Didn't like the shot. Left the 10.
one thing about Walter is that as you take a look, watch the 6-pin, as it'll just be lazy in the channel. It won't come out and get the 10 out. Walter is not the kind of player who will probably make a bad shot late in the game. He's going to live in that pocket. They don't call him Deadeye because he's not accurate.
6-time horseshoe pitching champion of the world as he picks up that 10-pin. 4-time PBA Player of the Year, 86, 93, again in 1996 and 97 as you take a look at our score. And Walter Ray Williams Jr. got the match in hand.
Well, right now Walter Ray is looking very, very strong. The best that Robert Smith can do is 216. Walter Ray working on a 218 pace. And he knows when he's made a good shot.
So Walter Ray Williams Jr. with a strike in the 8th. He loves to play chess, and I think it's just checkmate right there.
Not quite.
All right.
Not quite, Phil, but certainly puts him in very, very good position. As I said earlier, the best Robert Smith can do if he strikes in the 8th, 9th, 10th and gets the next 2 from there is 216. And that's not a good shot, and that's really trouble. Very nice to get out the 9-pin, but still leaves himself with a difficult 3, 6, and 10.
Now you're trying to strike, Rob.
High on that shot, so he is 35 pins down to Walter Ray Williams Jr. in the 8th frame.
He just barely makes it 3, 6, 10, but for Robert Smith, I really believe right now he knows it's going to be 2nd place. It's still a very, very good learning experience for him. He's a talented young player and has nothing to hold his head in shame for right now. Finishing 2nd out here is quite an accomplishment as well.
Recently got married to Dawn. I'm sure watching back home.
That lane is just looking so much right now. He keeps moving left, making the proper adjustments.
He's on the other lane.
He cannot keep the ball in the pocket, and Walter Ray cannot miss the pocket.
37-pin lead for Walter Ray Williams Jr.
This is hooking way too much now.
Deadeye has been just that here in this title match. Every ball in the pocket. He's left a couple of 10 pins. In the first is 7th frame. Also 9 pins in 4th. Smith converts. So Walter Ray Williams Jr. now up in the 9th frame.
Way too much. Way too much.
We take a look at J.T. McDonald, the Director of Consumer Products for Brunswick. Nice to have him here, sitting next to Johnny DeFraglia. Walter Ray Williams is finally going to get the monkey off his back and win his 27th national title.
You know, it is tough. A lot of folks talk about all those second-place finishes, and you got to put it to rest at some time, and he did that today.
Well, he's a very, very driven player, and second place, where it's great for a lot of players. For Walter Ray, he's had enough of them, and boy, when things are going for you, things are going. He didn't need to do anything in the 10th frame. That's the congratulations from Robert Smith.
Leads the 4-9, so you're right. Didn't need to do anything. Still going to have the title, and that's got to be a nice feeling.
Well, it's nice knowing you can go into the 10th frame and not have to do anything. 214 for Walter Ray Williams Jr.
And the best Robert Smith can do, 191. So Walter Ray Williams Jr., the winner of the Brunswick Long Island Open, and that's going to be his 27th PBA championship. Finished second just a week ago. And comes right back as a top-seeded player this week and wins it. And now it's time for our Ginkova moment of concentration.
And it came in the 8th frame. Walter Ray Williams, as I said earlier, living in the pocket. He knows how to get it done late in the game. That's today's Ginkova moment of concentration. As you see, Walter Ray Williams taking advantage, getting his 27th PBA title. We'll be back right after this.